Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity this morning, and welcome everyone that's joining us on live stream. This is our set song meditation service that is usually led by Jack and Norma and I with music, but they are taking some much needed time off, so I'm here. I'm the lucky one. So we always start with chanting. They say to sing is to pray twice. Many of you will know the song that I'm singing. It's a Sonatam Kar song called Ong Namo. And I'll be singing with her on a YouTube that she put together. Our pianist is out today. We're kind of a ghost crew, so I'm getting supported by all these wonderful technical ways we can find ways to keep moving forward. So I invite you to sing, or you can just sit in the presence and just bask in the music and let it just move in and through you. I'm going to let you put it on because that's not where we're supposed to be.
Oh
Let that vibration of that song open us up to this divine energy that is always in and through us, always moving in and through every aspect of our lives. When we move from a peaceful heart and a state of connection and oneness with all life, and we give thanks for this time, Spirit, to reflect on our lives, to discover a greater, more peaceful and loving way to go about all of it. And so it is, and we say thank you, God. So for those of you that might not know, I'm Syntysche Groverland. I'm the Unity Minister here. And I share this platform with my dad, who is the Minister Emeritus, Jack, and my mom, Norma. And I feel blessed to do this service. It feels kind of empty up here. I'm used to having the support of other beings, and yet I feel this incredible envelopment of spirit just surround me right now. It's really a beautiful feeling. So my talk title for this service is A Search for God. And if you've attended other services I've given in the past, I always say if I use the word God or Spirit, that you use a word that makes you feel divinely connected. You know, God can have a trigger for some people from maybe a childhood, spiritual, religious experience that made you feel separate from or didn't make you actually feel a direct and divine connection with this greater source energy that is the giver of all life. Today I woke up and drove here. I live just outside of Lyons, and so I drive on 36 to come to Boulder, and there was incredible fog everywhere with just these little spurts of sunshine coming through. And we had to take it really slow because at the hour that we're coming, there's a lot of elk and deer on the road, and Mike and I were playing really beautiful music in the car and just quiet, just observing the beauty of life and all of the reminders that are just always in the midst of us. There's always a chance to witness the miraculous of this spiritual life. And when we let it in, we see it and feel it everywhere. But when we lower ourselves into that human natured part of us that's in just mission-oriented life, where it's always getting from one thing to another, to accomplish another, to wrap up another, to start another, it can be very busying and overwhelming. And there's a lot of anxiety in this world, and there's a lot of energy pulsating in it at this time, while a new birth is percolating underneath all of it. And we don't have to wait for the world to catch up to this new birth that needs to and is happening. We can access that birth in the midst of us now by merely turning our gaze away from the fearful and limited things of the world and the fearful and limited things of our own personal lives, and find an inner heart-backed focus for that which we want now in our circulation, in our experience, in our giving, and in our receiving. So as we're driving over the hills and the mist is getting lighter, and it's getting thicker, and it's getting lighter. And at one point, we just got to Nelson Road, and we just came out of the thickest fog, and it was just bright sunlight over the greenest mountains I've ever seen here. It looks like Ireland. I've been to Ireland a few times. I've been there 3 times. It felt like Ireland. It took me back to the music and the sounds of the string instruments and the holy people that live there and the friendship that they hold and the way they treat tourists and treat everyone. I was just reminded of that warmth and why I'm attracted to going back there as many times as I have. It's just like they've figured out life. The pace is slower there. They're environmentally extremely conscious. They're living for the 10 generations ahead of us, as the Native Americans say, and the same in their Celtic tradition, they do the same, which is it's not to take as much as we can in this lifetime and leave it however we do. In every action that we make, we're considering the many generations to come, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, people that live in a state of awareness, in a state of inner contemplation, in a place of openness for this source energy to be divinely guiding us to exactly the right place at the right time, to the right words in difficult situations. You're lifted above the things of the world. It's like a spiritual floating, for a better, for a lack of better words. You are no longer tossed and turned by the things of life. You are not always in this washing machine that it's good, it's bad, it's good, it's bad. It's ebbs and flows like this, where it's more, when we're in a meditative state, we have that ability to stop in the face of, obstacles or difficulties or frustrations, anger, all of it. We learn to be with what those emotions are that are coming up, to visit what it is that is purging and healing in us, so that we aren't actually contributing to the problems of the world, but are adding unto this world the love and the compassion and the oneness and the beauty that each and every one of us truly are at the core of our nature. There's a wonderful piece that was written by Sri Ramakrishna, and I have this framed in my office, and it says this: "So long as the bee is outside the petals of the lily and has not tasted the sweetness of its honey, it hovers around the flower, emitting the buzzing sound. But when it is inside the flower, it noiselessly drinks the nectar. So long as a man or woman quarrels and disputes about doctrines and dogmas, he or she has not tasted the nectar of true faith. When they have tasted it, they become quiet and full of peace." When they have tasted it, they become quiet and full of peace. And I realize that many of us on a spiritual path right now are craving to live within the nectar that Sri Ramakrishna is speaking about. The nectar within the inner being, the Christ consciousness, the Buddha nature. That's the one that sees beauty in everything, or sees an opportunity in everything to heal thyself and in turn to know thyself, which is the greatest virtue. To know thyself and to love thyself. When we live in that state, we radiate good to others. And when we live in that state, that's radiated back to ourselves. And with the kind of year that we've all had, where if there were unhealed areas in our life, it was magnified. It was magnified. So it would be work, it'd be your marriage, it'd be your children, it would be, you fill in the blank. Whatever the thing was that was a pulsating focus of turmoil, and hopefully maybe even been healed at this point, they were direct reflections of what's being called for all of us to be the ones that God is asking us to be, or Source is wanting us to be. Because when we heal the past, heal the cuts and the hurts, the non-forgivenesses, the energies that keep us feeling that divine and direct connection to this greater power, this greater love, when we heal that, we are an open channel for this divine work that is being called for us at this time, to putting feet underneath the healing of the consciousness that we're seeing. It keeps us above grabbing the consciousness that is no longer serving this world or this planet, but being in a state of God consciousness all the time. We can merely observe the upsetness of the world, but we don't have to be of it. And it takes a practice. It takes a devotional practice of meditation and doing the things that make you feel that divine connection, like pottery or dancing or singing, or those things that just open you up to this divine nature, the thing that is divinely your uniqueness. Because we all have that. We all have this something that when we get carried away in it, we lose time. There is no time because we are in that direct connection. And that you could be a computer person, and you can have the direct connection because you have this super cool experience in that. I'm not saying it has to be always the right brain creative, but where you lose time because you're so fascinated, so divinely skilled at it, and you love getting better at it. And for me, that's dancing. That's singing. That's walking in nature. That's observing people on a patio at a restaurant and just making up the stories of what's going on in their lives. I love doing that. Just love, and I will do that with my daughters. I used to do it with my older daughter. Now she's off flown, but my younger daughter now, where we make up the story of what's going on in their lives. And we usually end up giggling really hard. It's kind of fun. They might not look like they're having a good day, but we try to do a positive spin of why they look like that and try to make a positive story of what that interaction's about. Playing more. Just simply playing. When somebody just says something that hits your funny bone and you just can't stop laughing, and you realize all the burden you were carrying before that laugh hit you. And a lot of times we'll end that laugh and go, I really needed that. You've had that happen, right? That somebody just says something funny. It might even be critical about life, and it just resonates so wholly in us, and we just get a laugh that just comes from heaven. And all of a sudden, everything seems better. It's like the universe's way of cleansing you and shocking you out of where you've been held, where you've been holding yourself stuck in bondage and limitation because of some outer circumstances that's not serving you, and you've just had the monkey mind just chatting about it, and you're analyzing it down here, and the mind's always doing this, and there's not really good rest, and there's not really good sleep, and there's not really a good experience because you're obsessing on how to fix this one thing or these two things, and you're missing all of this good that's over here. And it's interesting when we focus on all the good that's over here and we take our eyes off of the difficulty, over the perpetuating this experience and growing it and building it into more of a monster that's living underneath our bed, the more we focus on peace and love and the beauty of the things and being in gratitude of the things that are working. It's interesting how the universe takes care of that for you. But that takes faith. You know, Wayne Dyer always said, we are spiritual beings first, then human beings. But we go about it backwards. We see ourselves as human beings having a spiritual experience. But we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So that when you look at it from that analysis, it's asking us to live from the spiritual and then deal with the human things like bill paying and jobs, and especially if it's jobs we don't love, or just the busy work, the busyness, the cleaning of the house, the dusting of the house. I mean, I have all of those things. I've got 2 teenagers that were smarter at 9 than they are now. Now they're just walking hormone bags and leave their crap everywhere and their dishes in the sink. And I can say it over and over, and I can get super irritated. Like, I don't have a full-time job, and my husband doesn't have a full-time job. And, you know, I'm human, second, but I can get caught up in that where I feel like I'm the only person in the universe holding up this entire family. You know, does anybody notice? All that I do, there's no thank you here. Does anybody relate with that? When we're just like, what the heck? And the only person that's hurting is me. I remember being a teenager and all I wanted to think about was boys. I didn't want to go to dance class. My mom made me good at all the things, but all I wanted to think about was talk about boys and be with my friends and talk about that. So obviously we're not going to get anything accomplished, so why am I pretending that we're going to? And the window of my children being home is closing in, right? That I've got 3 more years with my son and 5 with my daughter. I don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss it by complaining about a natural phase that happens. I want to observe it. I want to be in the midst of it. I want to be in their silly humor. I want to add to their silly humor. I want to become a teenager with them. And when I do that, they seem to be more helpful. When I meet them where they are, they see me and I see them. And then they do seem to wash their dish after they eat. I mean, 1 out of 10 times they'll do that. I don't want them to remember their mommy being all stressed out, because now they're in a real reflective space where they'll remember that over all that nurturing, all that baby stuff, all that good. And yet, you know, the world is going to, well, it's going through a spell. And I'm so blessed because I live in nature, and I run to it when I'm done with work. Even though this work really is not work, it's a beautiful path. It's a blessing. But to make sure I do that meditation, we do that meditation. How do we visit that nectar inside the flower and stop buzzing? That buzzing is the complaining. The buzzing is telling everybody that will possibly listen our troubles. The buzzing is walking around in a disdained mood where it affects vibrationally other people. It's finding what is going well, what is going right. I, have never been hung up on what, we call God or source or spirit, but I was blessed in being raised in unity, so we are always, this path is about finding the language that most divinely connects us to spirit. Yes, it has a Christian basis because the Bible was the most read book in the Western culture. That's the only reason why it's Christian, but it's not necessarily Christian because we process where all of the religions agree. And we follow the golden rule. And the golden rule says this in Christianity: in everything, do to others as you would have them do to you. In Buddhism, it words it this way: treat not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful. And we have a poster of all of the religions, and at the core of every religion, this is where they all agree. Not separating ourselves from each other because of some religious path we have chosen. We might speak a different language, but the goal is the same. Well, the goal isn't always the same. The goal is to be good people, to be moral people, to be honest, to be kind, to give in order to receive, all of those things. Some religions are about where we go after death. Some are more about karmically not wanting to bring the same stuff to the next lifetime. And unity doesn't believe about this separate heaven that the Bible will refer to. We teach about eternal life. And how do we bring this so-called separate heaven into the very midst of us now? What would be the point if we're living with a helmet on, just willing our way all the way through life like this, and then, okay, but I pulled it off and now I'm going to go to heaven? But we missed all of it as spiritual beings having a human experience. We missed being present in the birth of our children. We missed being present in the face of our beloved when we're marrying them. We missed the moments where things were just so sweet and not a lot was going on. It just was holy. We missed all those little toys being around when those little kids were tiny because it was annoying to have the house always messy, but that phase is gone like that. And you'd go back in a minute to have those toys under your feet. The smell of chocolate chip cookies, right? The smell of the first wood burning fire in the winter. The smell of the air right now after all this rain, when we in Boulder, Colorado are so grateful for all this rain. We had a disaster last year. And we've been blessed by all this rain, and every day when I walk out and it just is wet and it smells, I have chills all over just thinking about it, because some people walk around with blinders on and they're missing the very essence, the very miracles in all of it. The miracle that your car starts. Think of the times when you're so poor you didn't know, right? Being in reflection of things that you've been through, and wow, look at this life I have worked so hard for, but I've also manifested from this greater power. this greater love. I'm at an age right now that some people would probably refer to it, from the human state of mind, as that midlife crisis. And sometimes it feels that way. But I'd rather look at it as a midlife reflection. That's really what it is. And, we always joke that men will go out and they'll go get a new wife and a convertible car. Somehow that will fix this feeling of, I'm halfway through. And women, well, they'll be the left ones while the husband goes off to the younger wife. I don't know, somehow we just get the short end of the stick. At least that's what the world tells us, right? There's always these little messages that somehow we've lost something when we're actually gaining something, right? That you're going to lose something for moving into that sage point of life where you have been through so much now and you have so much to give, so much to share, so much to hold for others. You're at the phase where you have wisdom and you don't have to constantly learn things by trial and error. And oh man, I just took myself out. Oh, this time when it worked. Oh, I took myself out. Oh, it worked. You've been through enough stuff now that you definitely let everything fall off your shoulders quicker because God has carried you through the difficult things every single time. And the sooner you go into surrender in the face of an obstacle, the sooner you move to the light and you're on to the next wonderful experience. And I don't think we have to wait till midlife for a reflection. It's not looking back and letting the baggage of life hit you where we haven't recognized the traumas or the things that cut us at some point that made us feel less than, and so we're reactive to things in life from that, and you're no longer that anymore. That's the first part of life. That's what the first 20 years are as adults, is healing the things that made us feel less than. And it's strange that when you finally really truly do know thyself and love thyself, is when you're physically not as beautiful anymore. And that part of your life is falling away. While you were so beautiful and perfect, and God just made you these, chubby-cheeked and pink cheeks, and you can't even appreciate it. You never appreciate it when you had all of it. And now you look back and go, I wish I had, but you can't. Because to know thyself is not a physical experience. It's a spiritual experience. And when the spiritual experience becomes the most important thing, that is what beauty is. It comes from the inside out. So I'm going to wrap this up in a minute. We'll go into meditation. I have a dog, a little Havishon. She's Bashan Havishon. So she's like a sheepdog, a wiener dog-shaped sheepdog. It's the cutest thing you've ever seen. And she's about 12. And this year, she was dealing with some healing issues or some physical stuff, younger than I would have ever expected. And I ended up taking her to the vet, and they told us she had a terminal illness. On February 18th. See, that's how much you know you love a dog just like a kid. It's like the day when time stopped for my puppy. And I immediately started doing light therapy on her and giving her CBD and doing a lot of natural things that she'd lost. Her eye had gone white. That's how we knew something was wrong. It just went blind and the other one didn't, and that's how they figured out something was going on with her. And when I started to do the CBD oil, which was really strange, my daughter, Arenya, she was in Costa Rica at that time when I got that diagnosis, and right now she's in Croatia. I mean, my daughter is traveling all over the world. She has like the best life. She said on the phone, "Are you giving her CBD oil?" I said, "I'm not." She goes, "Go get it immediately." Which is something I would say to her, because I totally believe in CBD oil. Just, it's weird how we are there to remind each other what we need to do. And within a week of giving her CBD oil, her eye completely went back to brown and is seeing out of it. And they had given her about a week to a month at the most, and she's made it now 3 months. But this last weekend, she had a rough weekend, and she was crying a lot, and I couldn't quite get on top of it. And Mike and I made the hard decision that we needed to get somebody to come and help put her to sleep this last Wednesday. And I know those of you that have had pets, it's like the hardest decision you could possibly make. It is the most unnatural thing. You just wish they'd just go to sleep and go on their own. They can't tell you how bad it is. You can't get a judge where it's like, how much is the pain? Is it a 6 or is it a 7? You just, And it was scheduled for Wednesday. I was only going to have my kids on Monday, so we were just really being with her and crying over her, and we were all having bits of just absolute sobbing with her. And the bond I've gotten from nurturing her with all these natural ways and watching the miracle of how much longer she lasted. But there was just something that was just bothering me so much all day. It was just like, this is just not right. I don't feel like I have a sure sign. I don't have the sure sign. And my kids are about to leave to their dad's, and I went over to Cozy, and I picked her up, and the whole family was sitting there, and I said, "Do you want to stay here for longer?" And her whole body got strong, and her tail just went crazy and just started kissing me on my face. So she's still here, but it was just such a clear answer from her, which I couldn't get that answer. And if I have to keep doing hospice with her for another 10 years, I will, because she's just this love being. But you're just urged by Spirit what you need to do when you hit that moment where you really don't know, and you really don't want to make a decision from a state of not knowing. I was trying to put her out of pain, and yet something was saying, "Don't do this. Don't do it." And when she did that, I was so clear. We just are now doubling all the natural things we're doing, and she's actually had really comfortable days since then. And I don't know if it's her choice that she wants to keep fighting or what. But my children witnessed the moment where I wasn't planning on picking up the dog and asking it. It was like the universe made me do it. And Mike kind of looked at me like, "What are you doing? Like, the kids are completely ready, and now you just completely screwed this up." That, because it was that shocking. We're all day, we're like, freaking out over the dog. We've got the kids ready to leave the dog now forever. And I just messed it up. But I didn't. It was Spirit that moved that moment and spoke through me. And the reaction was the universe saying, "You need to see this. She's not ready." And that is the universe that we live in. And it is honorable. So really just living in the flow of life and being in a state of allowance, focusing on the things that are going well, and having faith that the universe is taking care of these things that are not serving us any longer or need to shift energetically. So I'm going to just take us into a meditation. I'll just guide us just to get quiet in our bodies, and then we'll go into silence for about 5 minutes. I'm going to ask Josh to put a little music on. So it's always good when you're sitting on the pews to really make sure your feet are rooted on the floor and you're not crossing your legs, which crosses off the energy. Having your hands up opens up the body, and not letting that back of that pew completely support you, to actually sit more on your sit bones and use your belly for breath. And just start breathing in and out. So I just want you to start with a visualization of opening up the third eye, which is located just above the eyebrows and the hairline. And visualize that Father Sky's energy is pouring down out of the ethers into the third eye and filling and surrounding the entire brain and relaxing the brain and the eyes and the ears and the nose and the mouth. And as this light is filling you in, anything that's troubling you is really a color of darkness, and just see that light pushing it down through your body, because we're going to get it out of your feet eventually. We're clearing out any impurities, any impure thoughts, any limitations. Seeing this light now filling the throat, helping you regain your truth so that you may live it and speak it. This light now is filling into the shoulders, moving down the arm, moving underneath the arm and clearing the entire lymphatic system and pulling any impurities of the body and moving it down, and the light is pushing it down. Going over the body. All your major organs are being filled by this light. Your liver, your kidneys, your heart, your colon, everything is clearing out, and this light is pushing it down. Any impurities, any unnecessary experiences. And now we're going to see it moving out of the root chakra, moving down the thighs, the knees, the shins. And this light now is moving down through the feet, pushing this energy that no longer serves your body deep down into the earth, 20, 40 feet into the earth. Now I want you to see at the 30 feet mark a big, huge, round amethyst stone. This is recognizing Mother Earth. So the white light is now surrounding the stone. The impurities have gone into the earth and beyond that. And now we're going to see a pink light coming from this amethyst, climbing up the white light, up 10, 20, 30 feet to the bottom of your feet, and seeing this pink light entering your feet and climbing up the white light. Moving up the knees, thighs, root chakra, organs, kidney, liver, gallbladder, heart, up the throat chakra, up through the mouth, nose, eyes, and brain. And now it's climbing up. Father Sky's light up into the ethers. And in this state, you stay anchored with Father Sky and Mother Earth as a total and complete conduit for any messages that can come through right now as we go into silence for 5 minutes. Now we're going to visualize at the entrance point of the third eye to do a soft close that keeps you divinely connected to Father Sky, but closed enough to protect you of other energies, of other people's energies, so that you keep that direct connection, but you're also safe. You're saving and being protective of your vibrational being. And then also do a soft close at the bottom of your feet. So this Mother Earth energy and Father Sky energy is pulsating through you, but is protected within a barrier that any outside influence or energies cannot affect you. And you will leave here invigorated, full of God's loving energy and divinely directed and connected. And to this we say, Amen. And we'll take an offering for unity now. And before I do, we just had a board meeting a week ago, a little over a week ago. And since January to now, we are at a deficit financially of $14,800. And we had a very generous person from our center come to us today and said that she would do up to a $7,500 matching tithe to any tithe you give towards this deficit. So if you write that on your check, or you can do it in a note, when you text a tithe, you're able to do a little note on the different things. So that's how we'll but obviously we would need it on top of the tithe you give today, because the deficit is that there's not enough each Sunday or at the meditation. So with that in mind, if the center blesses you, then please give back to it fairly so that it may be here to support all those lives that it has supported and healed through all the years. So, and you can leave an actual physical tithe in the baskets just outside the door of here after the service. So we'll take our offerings in our hands, or in our mind, or in our consciousness, and bless it with this offering statement. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, and all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give.